Hello everyone, this is Steph with Stampin' and Scrappin' with Steph, and today I have this really cute fun fold card. It's a W fold, and I'm going to show you how to make that today. So, hand in the camera, I apologize for that. This is the card, and when you open it up and stand it, it has that shape of a W. Obviously that's, upside down, but if you look at it this way, it's a W. So it's a W fun fold. I made this using the Harvest Meadow suite in our holiday catalog. That's found on page 54 and 55. And then it also shows you the stamp set separately on page 56. So I used the designer series paper, the cork paper, the ribbon, as well as the embellishments. The only thing that's different is I did not use the stamp set. I decided to go with the Pretty Pumpkins stamp set, and this is a bundle that you can get also in this catalog, and it comes with the coordinating detailed pumpkin dies. And the reason that I chose this one is, well, for a couple of reasons. This project was made for the Stampin' Friends blog hop this month, and our theme was to give thanks. And I liked the So Thankful for You greeting. I thought that one worked well, versus just a basic thank you, which was in the Nature Harvest stamp set. And then I wanted to give it a little bit more of a fall theme versus, this one was called Harvest Meadow, so obviously it's some wildflowers and things like that. So I just really enjoyed the pumpkins, and I haven't used this stamp set all that much. Time is of the essence when I have a chance to craft lately. So anyway, enough about that, but let's get started with the project. All right, so this is the card like I showed you, and I'm going to try to zoom in. And lately in Switcher, when I zoom, it zooms way too far, but okay, so that seems to be good. All right, so you can see in the detail, the background here is the cork, and then these are from the dies in the stamp set, the ribbon, and the Pretty Designer Series paper. And then when you open it up, you get that fun fold, and I just carried over some of the stamping and paper to the inside. I think the fun thing about fun folds cards is it's kind of endless what you can do with them, and just changing the paper or changing, your theme creates a whole different type of card. So it's something that you could do over and over again, and I just love changing up, a card that I've enjoyed making. So all right, let's start this. Okay, so I used coordinating colors that were in the paper pack, and my base card is Misty Moonlight. So I cut that on the 4.5 inch by 11. Oops, geez. 4.5 by 11, and then you score it at 5.5, like you would, side fold cards, I think is what I call them. We also use it for the top fold if you're doing it skinny. But because of the W fold, you want to have it going this way. I have my fold to the left. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to give you the measurements of each piece that you will need. All right, so you'll need another strip of cardstock. You could change the color up. You could use DSP if you like. Just make sure that you have a nice crease in there so that the paper doesn't crinkle. And this piece is 1 3/4 by 11, and we're going to score this in a moment. For this card, I used 3 pieces of our basic white, and those are all cut to 4 by 5 1/4. The next one would be our designer series paper. This one is 3 3/4 by 5. This is the side that I used for my card. This is the reverse. So depending on the coloring theme that you're working on, you could use either side. Then you will need 4 pieces of cardstock. Again, I went with Misty Moonlight. And these are 2 1/4 by 2 3/4. The cork piece measures 3 by 3 1/2. You will need some basic white for your stamping to die cut out, and then 2 by 2 1/2, and you want 2 of those. And then for the designer series paper for the inside of the card, these are also 2 of them at 2 by 2 1/2. And then I'm going to show you right off the start. This is one of the cutouts from the Detailed Pumpkins dies, and I went with, I think it's an Adjust Jade color DSP. And if you look in the paper pack, this one has like little words across of it, but you don't really, it doesn't really come across once you dye it, but I liked the variation in the colors with the light and the dark, and I think it stands out much more than just doing a flat colored cardstock. So that one I just pre-cut out. If you get it just right, you'll be able to peel the pumpkin out of the die with all the little bits left behind. But I didn't want a chance that I was going to be sitting here poking out a whole bunch. But this is what the die looks like. It's really pretty. It's probably my favorite die in the whole thing. All right. So we're going to score, and I'm just moving this stuff out of the way. You can certainly use your scoreboard. I am just going to stick with my trimmer just to have less out. And I'm going to open my arm. All right. So the first score mark, and we're doing it on the 11-inch side of it, obviously, is we're going to score, let's see, at 2 3/4 and 5 1/2. And then the last one is at 8 1/4. Okay. Set my trimmer aside. And so as you can see with the card, you're just creating that accordion fold. So you're going to fold up, back, and then this way. So just reversing, and that's going to give you the fold. Now, a couple things just to point out. Once this is attached to the inside of your card base, you can then adhere, your layers inside, or if you prefer, you can line them up. I liked doing it this way just because this will lay completely flat. And so when you add adhesive to the strip, you're doing it more on a flat surface. Because of the nature of this card, your center part here won't go completely down once it's adhered. So it could create a little challenge to putting the adhesive on these two sections. So just pointing out, but whatever you're comfortable with, if this is a card that you've, made in the past, do whatever works for you guys. Okay, so now I'm going to just move my folded strip aside, and we're going to work with building the card front here. All right. Make sure I have it folding the right way. All right, so the first thing I wanted to do was add my basic white to the front of the card with my designer series paper. So I'm just going to add my Stampin Seal, and this is a new one, so let me just get it going. I hope everybody is going to have a great Friday. The weather has taken a little bit of a turn here in Massachusetts. It got kind of chilly the last few nights, but I'm not complaining. I don't mind our fall weather. All right, before I adhere this to my card base, I'm going to add the ribbon. And this is the ribbon from that suite. It is the Diamond Weave ribbon, and it's like a very vanilla look to it. Now, if you want to save on your ribbon, you can cut enough to just wrap around the front of the card and then do a separate bow versus, you know, wrapping it all the way around like I'm going to. That just saves, you know, some ribbon. But I like the look of it completely wrapped. I mean, it really doesn't make that much of a difference. You're still going to get that kind of wrapped look. And I'm not a pre-measurer on ribbon. I like to work it out as I'm working on my projects. But so one of the things that you have to keep in mind when you're wrapping this is you need to tie the bow as close to the edge as possible, because when you start adding the cork piece in, you want to have enough space to get that to adhere down. If you come too far in, once this is attached to your card base, it's hard to adjust the ribbon, which is another reason that wrapping it and then adding the bow after, you know, might be a good option. So usually by now I'm well underway with a bunch of Halloween projects, working on things for vendor fairs, but unfortunately I'm not able to participate them as this particular year. So here's to next year, right? Hopefully all these crazy challenges will be behind us and some normalcy will start resuming. Okay, so I'm just going to pull this just a little bit because I want it a little more off to the side. And there we go. All right. And if you don't like your ribbon popping up, you can add some glue dots underneath or just a little bit of adhesive. So I'm going to do a couple glue dots just because when I add the cork paper, I want to give it a nice base. And that will help the cork popping up where you don't want it to. And it's going to go down with a dimensional, but it's nice to have it on a flat part. If the ribbon moves and the dimensional goes on it, the dimensional just kind of lifts. It's not really stuck to the paper. All right, so that's that. All right, so now I'm going to add this to my card base. Ooh. And if you do struggle getting your adhesive around where the ribbon is, again, you can add a little bit of glue dots to it, and that will help it secure down. Okay, add this here. I want to thank you for all my newest subscribers. I know I don't have an opportunity to post often, but I do thank you guys for subscribing. And if you're new to watching my channel, ring the bell so you'll get a notification when I pop on, and subscribe. Greatly appreciated. I know there's so many paper crafters out there to watch, so I do appreciate you stopping here. And then we're going to take the two other Whisper Whites. I'm going to add, God, I keep saying Whisper Whites. It's just such a habit. Basic white to the inside. Again, this is a great spot to put some designer series paper. I just opted for the white. I think it creates a nice contrast. And of course, when I was trimming this, my blade got a little dull, so I have some fraying edges. So I apologize for that. All right, so that is the inside. And this is how I added the fun fold. Well, this is how you're going to add your fun fold. All right, so from edge to edge, this would go straight across like this. All right, if you come in a little bit more, I mean, it's not going to be that bad. It's just going to give you more of a pop up here in the middle. I liked it going right to the edge. It creates that seamless look, like everything was cut out at the same time. So let's do our inside and then we'll work on the cover. All right. All right, so now I'm going to take the DSP. Ooh. And stick it on two of these little rectangles. Making these cards are really quick. You know, once you get the measurements and the assembly down, they come together very quickly. I'm obviously going a little bit slower for explanation purposes, but nonetheless, I found once I got it all down, you can cut multiples and really get these going quickly. All right, so what I prefer to do is add the adhesive onto the strip, and I just kind of eyeballed and centered these in. And having it lay flat, I found helpful, especially with the Stampin Seal. A smoother, flatter surface works better for that adhesive. You can use some tear and tape or a sticky strip if you have that, liquid glue if you prefer. You know, it all works however, you know, however you want it to be. All right, so that's that. So now we're going to move into the stamped sections. So the greeting I went for is the So Thankful for You. I had contemplated not decorating both of the white rectangles. You know, I know often when we give a card, you like to put your personal greeting on there. So I thought of leaving it blank to write your own, but in the end, I think it looks better with them both decorated. So, so thankful for you. And then for this one with the pumpkin, this one I colored in with our Stampin' Write markers. And I used a variety of different ones. Now, if you can tell from the stamped image, I only stamped on more or less 3/4 of the stamp itself, or I should say colored on 3/4 of the stamp itself. And that's because when you turn it over and stamp, I came off the paper, but I wanted to make sure I kind of went far enough so that I didn't miss the edge, if that makes sense. All right. So I stuck with colors that are within the paper, and I just randomly, you know, chose what flowers. So you just come in. I did the espresso around the edges, and I just kind of went over. And I'm just going to duplicate where I added these colors on. When you're coloring on the back of the stamps, it's important to try to move as fast as you can. The less time coloring, you know, you'll have a less chance of the ink drying quickly. All right, so we're just gonna keep on at it, and I will tell you what colors I used. So for the yellow, it's Bumblebee. The green is just Jade. The blue is the Misty Moonlight. I used Early Espresso, which it's not one of the colors listed, but I wanted a darker edge to show. Cajun Craze for these little berries or twigs in the middle. Crumb Cake as well. All right. And then the huffing. And then I just kind of came off to the side a little bit, lining up more with the stem, and then just stamp down. This particular stamp also has a framelit that can go around it. So if you preferred having a little bit more dimension, you can stamp it the same way, cut it out, and then attach it, you know, with a dimensional or something like that. All right. So then what I did is I just took our, oh gosh, what is this called? Cording, gold cording, sorry, in gold. I tied a little bow to just add a little something. Okay, so now I'm going to add the adhesive to the back of these two. And this goes here. And here. Ooh. I'm going to put a glue dot down here on the stem, and then I'm going to add the little bow. And cut the tails just a little bit. And then also with the fold, you know, just keep in mind on how much dimensions you might be adding on the inside, because that will affect, you know, obviously when it closes, how thick it is. So keep that in mind. If this is a card that you're mailing, you might want to, at least around here, I would need to bring it into the post office versus just sticking a stamp on it and popping it in my mailbox. All right, so for an added little bit of decorative embellishment, I'm using the brushed metallic adhesive backed dots. This is also from the Sweet Harvest Meadow. And I'm just going to pop a couple dots here. And then one, go with the bigger one on the So Thankful. All right, and then what I did for the So Thankful one is I added one of our leaves. I've already colored that and cut it out using the die. And I'm just cutting around the edge of my dimensionals. I don't like to waste this part. And stick that there. And then I'm adding it there. All right. So now we're going to add the adhesive onto this part. Now, if you did tear and tape, you know, you would just do it in advance, peel it off when you're ready. That's a time saver. And again, just I'm lining up this part. All right. So now I'm going to bring my card base back in. Turn this over, and I'm adding the adhesive here. And, oop, I'm going over some embellishments. All right. So I start with one, and you just eyeball, you know, where you want your height, if you want it completely centered. So we're going to go there. And I think right there. All right. And then I fold it and just give it a little bit of a press. And you can see, you know, it's already got some bulk to it. And then that's it. All right, so let's decorate the front. So I'm gonna take the cork paper, add some dimensionals to the back of this. And I'm gonna do strips just because I know with the ribbon, I wanna make sure it's adhered well in the top and the bottom. And there. This cork paper is great. I wasn't sure what it was gonna look like. It was hard to tell in the catalog. I thought maybe it was just paper that was made to look like cork, but if you feel it, it actually feels like a very thin piece of cork. It has that texture of cork, so I think it's really cool. All right, so stick that on, and now we have our little pumpkin. And the way I did this one is you could use your fine tip glue pen. I know part of this pumpkin is going to be covered, so I just added the adhesive on the back towards the bottom. I like having things have a little bit of movement, so I don't put the adhesive off the whole thing. And then I'm going to set this a little up from the bottom and just kind of push it down. And then I'm taking, again, the cord. I like to just wrap this around my hand a few times. And I will add a few glue dots to kind of give it a little spot to stick down in the middle. Oh, got a little unwrapped there. All right. And I'm going to move that over. So the next thing that I want is the pumpkin and the leaves. So you're going to stamp that using the Memento Tuxedo Black, and then we're going to color it in. So I used the dark and light pumpkin pie for the actual pumpkins. I came in with the marker tip and just created the dark shadows closest to where the pumpkins met, you know, the leaves or the other pumpkins. And then come down on these lines. I'm moving rather quickly with this. I think everyone knows how to color, so I don't want to, you know, have you sitting here just watching me color. I took the dark, let's see, which one is this? Soft suede for my stems. Okay. And then the Just Jade. So these are the Stampin Blends. I did the same thing using the marker tip, just kind of accentuating the lines of the leaves. And then take the light and just blend the color. I know it doesn't show up as much on the camera as, you know, it would when you're looking at it in person. But you can definitely see dark and light, and the more you color, the more it blends together. So you would just continue with that, and when you're all done, you're going to take the die and cut it out. And then I did the same thing with the little leaf here. All right, so these I'm adding dimensionals onto the back as well. And let's see. If you need to add a few more glue dots to hold your twine down or your cording down, you know, it'll be hidden, so I wouldn't worry about that. I'm gonna control this part just a little bit there. want to cooperate. Maybe just one more right there. So now I'm going to take the pumpkin, and this one is going to go just about like right there. And then the leaves go right there. All right, so here's the card, the double fun fold. W fun fold. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this. Remember to subscribe and ring the bell and leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Also in my description, I have the link to the blog hop so you can see the full projects that I worked on for that. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.